Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the President-elect, the Staff Director for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Elizabeth Farah, House Sergeant-at-Arms, the Honorable William P. McFarland, Senate Sergeant-at-Arms and Doorkeeper, the Honorable Jennifer A. Hemingway, Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable John Thune, and the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, House Democratic Leader, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, House Majority Leader, the Honorable Steve Scalise, Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson, Senate Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles E. Schumer, Ranking Member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fischer, and Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar. Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please welcome the Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 60th presidential inauguration. Today, President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Vance will take their oaths of office, and we will witness the peaceful transfer of power at the heart of our democracy. For the past year, I've chaired the inaugural ceremony committee, which includes the leadership of Congress from both parties. We thank the committee and Capitol staff and law enforcement who worked so hard over the last year, and especially the last 3 days. You've done a beautiful job, and you have shown grace under pressure. Our theme this year is our enduring democracy. The presence of so many presidents and vice presidents here today is truly a testament to that endurance. We welcome President Biden and Dr. Biden. We welcome Vice President Harris and Doug Emhoff, President Obama, President Clinton and Secretary Clinton, President Bush and Laura Bush, Vice President Pence, Vice President Quayle and Marilyn Quayle. The justices of the United States Supreme Court are with us, all 9 of them, I counted, and of course, the Trump and Vance families. This ceremony marks what will soon be 250 years of our democracy. It is the moment when leaders elevated by the will of the people promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, the guardians of our country. Through war and peace, through adversity and prosperity, we hold this inauguration every 4 years, and today it falls on Martin Luther King Day, a further reminder that we must strive to uphold the values enshrined in our Constitution, the freedoms, the liberties, and, as is inscribed on the entrance of the United States Supreme Court, equal justice under law. But what makes this moment more than a passing ceremony is all who are watching it across the country, the people of this nation, the ordinary people doing extraordinary things. President Kennedy, who at one point worked as a senator in this building and would often walk through this very rotunda, once said, "In a democracy, every citizen, regardless of interest in politics, holds office. Every one of us is in a position of responsibility." With that responsibility of citizenship comes an obligation not to seek out malice, as President Lincoln once reminded us, but to view others with a generosity of spirit despite our differences. With that responsibility of leadership comes an obligation to stand our ground when we must and find common ground when we can. With everything swirling around us, the hot mess of division, it is on all of us, to quote an incredible songwriter who just happened to be born in my state, to ensure that our nation's democracy is our shelter from the storm. There's a reason this ceremony takes place at the Capitol. In other countries, it might be in a presidential palace or a gilded executive office building. Here it is traditionally held at the Capitol, the People's House. It is a fitting reminder of the system of checks and balances that is the very foundation of our government, 3 equal branches of government. That is how, for nearly 250 years, our great American experiment, grounded in the rule of law, has endured. So, as we inaugurate a new president and vice president, let us remember that the power of those in this room comes from the people. The construction workers who build our country, the teachers and healthcare workers who nurture us, the troops defending our freedoms, and yes, the firefighters in Los Angeles putting themselves on the line for us. Our democracy's strength and grit must match theirs. May God bless our nation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Endurance through the years is the ultimate test. To persevere through time is the truest measure of an idea, an institution, and a nation. Our founders wrote the Constitution so that America could withstand all the twists and turns of time. They wrote it to guide us and to preserve forever our right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But as much as the truths and principles enshrined in our Constitution remain the same, our democracy promises the American people the power to change, to chart their own destiny. That's the beauty. That is the importance of democracy. It allows the endurance, the permanence of a nation through change. It allows nations like our United States both to avoid the obstacles and to seize the opportunities God has placed before us, all while staying true to our founding principles. Today is our country's 60th inauguration ceremony. Like all the others before it, it is a celebration of our right to set our uniquely American course. The past several years have been trying at times for many, many Americans, and also for the nations of the free world that we humbly strive to lead. In November, Americans chose again to steer this nation towards greatness, the secure, safe, and prosperous future that our founders envisioned for all of us. And today, we celebrate not only their decision to do so, but also the simple right and wisdom of a free people to make their own choice so that their nation might endure. And now, allow me to welcome Archbishop Timothy Dolan and Reverend Franklin Graham, who will deliver our invocation. Please rise.
Be still and know that I am God, supreme among the nations, supreme on the earth. Let us pray. Remembering General George Washington on his knees at Valley Forge, recalling Abraham Lincoln at his second inaugural, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Remembering General George Patton's instructions to his soldiers as they began the Battle of the Bulge 8 decades ago: pray, pray when fighting, pray alone, pray with others, pray by night, pray by day. Observing the birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King, who warned, without God, our efforts turn to ashes. We, blessed citizens of this one nation under God, humbled by our claim that in God we trust, gather indeed this inauguration day to pray for our President Donald J. Trump, his family, his advisors, his cabinet, his aspirations, his vice president, for the Lord's blessings upon Joseph Biden, for our men and women in uniform, for each other whose hopes are stoked this new year, this inauguration day. We cannot err in relying upon that prayer from the Bible, upon which our president will soon place his hand in oath, as we make our own the supplications of King Solomon for wisdom as he began his governance. God of our fathers, in your wisdom you set man to govern your creatures, to govern in holiness and justice, to render justice with integrity. Give our leader wisdom, for he is your servant, aware of his own weakness and brevity of life. If wisdom which comes not from you be not with him, he shall be held in no esteem. Send, wisdom from heavens that she may be with him, that he may know your designs. Please, God, bless America. Please mend her every flaw. You are the God in whom we trust, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, there are times I'm sure you thought it was pretty dark. But look what God has done. We praise him and give him glory. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, thou hast said, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. As the prophet Daniel prayed, blessed be the name of God forever and ever. For wisdom and might are his. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings. He raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. Our Father, today, as President Donald J. Trump takes the oath of office once again, we come to say thank you, O Lord our God. Father, when Donald Trump's enemies thought he was down and out, you and you alone saved his life and raised him up with strength and power by your mighty hand. We pray for President Trump that you'll watch over, protect, guide, direct him. Give him your wisdom from your throne on high. We ask that you would bless him and that our nation would be blessed through him. We also ask that you would bless and protect Melania as First Lady. We thank you for the beauty, the warmth, and grace that she shows not only to this nation, but to the whole world. We thank you for Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his wife Usha and their young family. May he be a strength to President Trump, to stand beside him, to hold up his arms like Aaron held up the arms of Moses in the midst of battle. The prophet Samuel reminded the people, it was you that brought them up from the land of Egypt. And he said, now stand still that I may reason with you before the Lord. So Father, we take this moment to stand still, to remember the great things that you have done for this nation. Thank you for the protection, the bounty, the freedoms that we so enjoy. We remember to keep our eyes fixed on you, and may our hearts be inclined to your voice. We know that America can never be great again if we turn our backs on you. We ask for your help, and we pray all of this in the name of the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, your Son, my Savior, and our Redeemer, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Associate Justice Kavanaugh to administer the Vice Presidential Oath of Office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the presidential oath of office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
sentence in the din, declaring that his day is marching on.
It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn. From weeks ago, without even a token of defense, they're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. It is my hope that our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states. And the popular vote, we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. Thank you. Thank you. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We're going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive, amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before. To restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government, my administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be free to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families. Thank you. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together, we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together, they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We're going to win like never before. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, performing America the Beautiful, please welcome the Armed Forces Chorus and Carrie Underwood.
Hi, am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Shah. Shah, it's supposed to come on the screen. If you could like fix that.
No, I think it's fine like this because I think we can watch it. But here you go.
Zulfi is with us as well. This was so crazy.
Why was it crazy? I think it was very interesting. It was
I
extreme.
think
There are so many things like.
Trump, he was on fire, you know. He was not menacing
Why?
at
Why
all.
do you think he was on fire? Go ahead with your opinion.
No, because he was not using filter and he was himself all the way through. I was really impressed.
You were impressed?
He
Why
was
were you impressed?
he was so like he was not like using any filters. He was like there are only two genders. It's like is it like by this point it's actually just two genders in America, or they're going to go through some legislation or something?
I think they're going to go through a huge legislation. This has been an ongoing case, just not in the US, but Europe as well. Just a year and a half ago, there was a debate. Uh, what is definition of a woman in the UK? And one of the definitions was that the second question was, can a woman have a
Shaji, your voice is breaking. Hello?
am
No, I
I
can't
audible?
hear you.
Yeah, it's
Audible.
because just
No, you're not audible. Anyway, but he's
am I audible now?
yeah, you're audible now.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think gender issue became really huge in the UK, and the thing is, the far left went balloony over the entire issue. If you think about
No,
it,
but fine. I will accept that there are not as many genders as the liberals claim, but there are three genders. Like this is a scientific thing. Like you can't even deny that there are three genders. One is an intersex, a male and a female, right? So what
I
about intersex? What are they going to identify as? Not men, they're not women.
I think what they're going for is something a bit different. So they're basically suggesting there's male and there's female and there's a spectrum in the middle, where somebody might be from a different
I don't think
background.
he was. I don't think so. He was very clear. There are only two genders, male and female. So how are they going to deal with the fact that there are intersex as well?
I don't know. Time will tell. I think another thing to notice in the ceremony, and Zulfi, you should point that out. You should give your opinions as well. This was a very, very, very Christian stroke conservative.
I thought it was just Pakistan who used to start everything with the recitation of Quran and stuff. Wow.
Well, this was well, even in the past they do the pledges and everything in that way, and that's fine and that's okay. But I think one of the things to notice was that this went overboard in that way. Mm. Another thing, he was like Zulfi said, he was showing he
No
was not
restraint.
talking about hope. He was extremely confident. He said the golden age for the United States has begun.
Yeah, drill, baby, drill. Who talks like that?
That was something I couldn't hold my
and
loud
and his
noise.
comments, a lot of people will try to go personal. I've been there, there's some that have happened to me. He was giving all these making all these comments on people. It's really funny.
We're gonna
And
have endless memes on drill,
well,
baby drill.
The whole speech was actually very interesting.
it was very,
And
very direct. I think it was when he took the actual oath, if you see when he was called on the thing, and he took the oath, the kind of the confidence he was exerting and that smile and the dance which came in, look, I'm back, you can't do that was a message to all his opponents, right?
tell me something. Do the presidents usually get so many standing ovations like he did?
Yeah. Usually, this event for the first time was done inside, so they changed that upon his request. And I think the reason
It was
behind that,
also because it was raining
yeah,
and too
well,
cold. It was
if you
very
look at
cold
the
and it was
past,
raining.
yeah, but if you look at the past ceremonies, and a lot of people have done analysis, it was raining during Obama's ceremony. It was even colder in at Nixon's time. But they all did it outside. I think the real reason was he didn't want the protesters, and he didn't want the lack of crowd, or the crowd to even be a thing. He wanted to be very direct. He didn't want to take a risk.
Or maybe because he was scared somebody's going to try to shoot me again. That is getting really common in America. So
I don't know. That can be a
What,
thing.
what what makes no sense to me is that he's naming Mexico and all these countries the Gulf of America, yet he's sending the Mexican aliens back to Mexico. It's kind of senseless. I mean, you don't want those people here, but you also want to make them Americans. They're Americans, but they're not the Americans who should be in America. They should remain in Mexico. Makes no sense.
He
Very
wants
weird.
to take the canal of Panama, basically, not really make them American.
Yeah, but he's naming it the Gulf of America. That
Yeah,
automatically makes
bring
it.
it over.
No, but that automatically makes him all American, no?
No, nobody lives on the on that area. He's not talking about the actual country. He's talking about that area, the waters. Another interesting thing is there was a very interesting article by Sadiq Khan yesterday where he basically warned very, very clearly that the West needs to not bow down to fascism. He indirectly referred to Trump as a fascist. The British government completely backed down from that entire scenario and that situation. But today, from Trump's side, a message came out that Sadiq Khan is nobody. He's just a nobody who likes to speak. In the larger context of things, it's kind of true if you think about it.
So he didn't mention anything about Muslims or Indians. He specifically thanked the Hispanics and Black people, even though he got votes from the Muslims and especially the Indian community. Did he did do that on purpose or something?
I don't know. I think again, when you're going to mention ethnic minorities as a whole, and if you're going to be speaking about ethnic minorities in a bracket and religion, he did not mention Jews either.
Yeah, but he didn't mention anyone else. He specifically, yeah, I think he did talk about South Asia. Very, very interesting. Very non-serious yet serious.
I think it was extremely serious. It was very, very direct. Arsalan is here. It was
Arsalan,
very
drill,
direct.
baby, drill.
Yep. Seems like
Our
my
American
I'll
is
I'll
here.
get busier. नहीं मेरे लिए तो बहुत अच्छी चीजें हैं मतलब मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ड्रिलिंग ऑयल एंड गैस मतलब who knows soon I'll be a millionaire inshallah.
And did you
So
hear about his gender, opinion about his
Oh yes
gender?
I was listening to his entire thing. I just missed I think like last 10-15 minutes I guess.
What do you think about that thing, like the two genders?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm very confused what's going on right now with him. I personally think he's just saying a lot of stuff that somehow is more acceptable for his audience. That's all he's just trying to say. Because there are no multiple genders accepted federally. I mean, I don't know on state level, but federally there's still two genders. That's what it is. I think he's just trying to, as I said, please his audience. That's all he's trying to do right now. even right now, I heard very clearly how he said that, oh, we will kick out the criminals, criminal illegal aliens. That's what he will do. Because the thing is that the moment he tries to kick out the working illegal immigrants, which are like I think a lot, and especially in construction and farming and a lot of these places, the economy would go really down. So he changed his tone, uh, and I was expecting that to be happening. So yeah, I mean, honestly, his speech wasn't really something I was expecting any different. He said what he. I wasn't expecting him to be kind of grilling his opponents right now. Uh,
Hmm.
that's what I wasn't expecting it, but I mean, that's Trump. He would be doing that.
So did you hear the part? Everything that the golden age of America has
Oh yes,
begun.
yes, yes, yes. I heard all that stuff. Yep.
It's begun.
I mean, it's. I'm not sure if there's a golden age of the age of doom.
Well, nobody else has shown so much confidence.
Yeah, but I have a question. I have a question. Um, isn't it, these illegal immigrants? Don't you think it's like the right thing to do? Like Pakistani didn't want the Afghan refugees. A lot of other countries don't want them. Like if they're illegal, they're illegal. So why not just send them
Ma'am,
back
the
to their
thing is that
countries?
all of this is not humanitarian. People who
We're
allow.
not talking about humanitarian. I'm
I
not
know, I
talking
know, I know.
about him being
I know.
humanitarian. I'm just saying that if they're coming illegally,
Yes,
that's what the rules and regulations are for, right? That's what
I
borders and
agree.
visas are for.
I
But
agree. But here's the thing. Here's the problem.
Hmm.
That's what I've been saying. And this is something I personally know people who have voted for Trump, all right? But they themselves say that I hope he doesn't kick out all illegals because the day he does, their business is going to go down. Here's the thing if you go on farms, there are people who are sitting down and working from dawn to dusk. No American is willing to do that, even if you pay them $100 an hour. That's how hard, difficult that job is. Same thing in construction. In construction, you do see a lot of Americans, but here, yeah, guess what? They're mostly alcoholics. They're wife beaters. What happens is that they sometimes don't show up to their work, and many times they do show. They're drunk. A lot of times they get arrested in the middle. They change jobs. They're not reliable. However, when you see these quote unquote illegals, they are literally family people who are working that you can actually rely on them. So if, for example, first of all, it's going to be very expensive if you try to kick them out. It's going to be very, very expensive. It's technically cheaper to keep them in than to kick them out. But let's just say if you do pay that price and do that, your food industry will be down. Your construction industry will be down. You need new homes. People are demanding new homes, new apartments. That's all going to go down. So again, kicking them out will destroy United States local economy. And this is something a lot of these Trump supporters know. That's what they've been saying that, oh, we hope that he only kicks out the criminals. Sure, like I mean, when it comes to the criminals, you can kick them out. But here's the interesting thing: all of these parties, Obama have kicked out way more illegal immigrants than Trump has done in his time, and that's a reality. Same thing with Biden. Biden kicked out a lot. Like so this is again just a scare tactic. Is just another way to like even get votes. Otherwise, anybody who tries to implement will just destroy United States economy.
that's one thing. That's a capitalist mindset that we're getting cheap labor, right? More work, cheap labor, and all that. But I mean, if you think about it, that's the right thing to do, right? They're there illegally, and there are more going to come. You don't know which one is a criminal and which one is a proper worker, skilled worker. You don't know that. So that's the reason we have rules and regulation.
I agree principally, but here's the thing: if we go by principle, then Trump is also a convicted felon. That's a reality. His crime was bigger than the crime of jumping the fence. Because here's the thing: jumping the fence is still considered a misdemeanor. It's not considered a crime, all right? Especially, and again, like if we're leaving the capitalism out, all right, it's literally every refugee's right to ask for refuge. That's also that's a reality as well. So these people who are, a lot of them, when they are crossing the border, they're doing out of desperation. As far as the criminals, they have a lot of money. So this is an ironic thing. Let's just say if they try to get the so-called criminals, there's going to be a lot of corrupt cops, corrupt officers who have been aiding these criminals. They will try their best to protect them, and guess who will they kick out? The hardworking people who are just trying to live a life. So that's the thing. I agree that on principle, yeah, anybody who's crossing a border is committing a crime or at least a misdemeanor. I completely agree. But that's the thing. We unfortunately do not live in a black and white world. We have a lot of gray area. So again, I mean, United States need these people. That's a reality, and for that reason, a lot of conservative, and I guarantee you, this guy will do the same thing. He will ignore a lot of illegal immigrants. He's going to be like, okay, you know what? That's fine. You guys can live here. That's going to happen because what are people going to eat if these people are kicked out? They're in not just farming, but they're even in slaughterhouses. They're everywhere. They literally are controlling your food line. That's what they're doing right now at this point.
So, especially because America is the reason half the world is a refugee, so it makes sense.
That's a fair point. No, there's a lot of meddling that happened in Mexico and well not in Mexico but like in Southern America. That happened a lot of meddling. United States meddled there a lot, and that has caused these issues. That's a reality. I'm not saying like it's completely United States fault, but there are things that like United States did that they should have not done it. Now these people are poor. Now they're coming to your doors. Then you're saying that hey we're full. That just doesn't sound right. But again, I still agree that you can't have a weak border at the same time because yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to let criminals be coming in. But my only thing is that if we're looking from a country's perspective, look, a law should not destroy a country. That's my opinion. That if there is like a law that if that could be ignored and country can prosper, that should be looked into.
So it's one thing talking about illegal immigrants who are working in farmlands. You see a lot of people in the UK coming from across Europe working and pulling potatoes and things like that. And local British people don't want to do those jobs as well. But then you see in the urban areas, you see a lot of illegal immigrants who end up not adding much value if you think about it. There is a black market and majority of crimes occur in those segments. I see a lot of South Asians or in the UK or for example in New York area, in Brooklyn type of places and other concentrated areas near New York, there's Baltimore, all these places, even parts of Virginia. You basically see a lot of crime occur in these immigration places where you've seen these kind of people. So I don't know how you relate to that when you say these people are criminals.
Shaji, here's the thing. This is not a problem of immigrants. It's a problem of big cities. You take any big city, you're gonna find that problem. And honestly, blaming it on immigrants is the easiest way. Here's the thing: the more people you're going to have, the more crimes you're going to have, and the more crimes will be reported too. There are a lot of crimes that happen in smaller cities, including murder, including what you can say, carjacking and whatnot, but they're never reported, or they're not reported that, at least on a lot of times on federal level, maybe a little bit on state level. That's what happens. But a lot of times they're just kept locally, and guess what? All the urban areas that you're talking about, they're 100%. Sometimes they're 100% white. You're not even gonna find. And interestingly, in those areas, when you're gonna find a factory or something like that, you're gonna find Mexicans there. A lot of them are Wiggins undocumented. But this is the funny thing: they're not involved in any kind of crimes. So again, here's the thing: all those things. Let's just say if all those people are kicked out, you're still going to have the crime problem because that's a big city. I mean, New York had crime problems since like 1920s. All right, that time, how many? And it's very ironic too that initially the reason a lot of right now New York is known for their pizza, but there was a time when Italians were coming in the United States, they were seen as criminals as well. They're like, oh, the crime is rising in New York. So this story is a very old story. That's going to keep happening. That's the point. And again, my thing is that if it's such a bad place, why people want to live there? I mean, here, let me just say that I personally can't live in New York. But I see that people are paying literally for a closet $2,500 a month as rent. So if it's such a crime-ridden, horrible place, then why are people going there? Again, I'm not saying that there are not crimes. I agree there are problems that needs to be fixed. I'm not denying the problem. My only thing is the solution that they're trying to provide. That's not the solution, in my opinion. That's all I just believe. So.
Why
No,
is no
but
American president ever concerned about the school shootings and gun laws and stuff?
It's very ironic that the only one who ever said something, something that if AOC had said she would have been canceled by GOP is what Trump said. Trump was like, I think there was a meeting or something, and this is one I'd say a good thing about Trump is that he just blurts out stuff and he can say stuff and he can get away with it with which nobody else can do that. And he did, like, I think in 2017 or 2018, I forget. He was like, you know what, let's just take away the guns first from the people who are committing crime, and then let's do a background check or something like that. He did say that, and he got away with it. I mean, the Republicans were like, okay, what the heck did he just say? So, I mean, I'm not saying like he would make any difference, but if there's anybody who can do that, it's him.
another thing which is interesting, do you realize this is the first time the British Prime Minister has not been officially invited to an inauguration or been told that there's going to be a meeting? Instead, you've got Nigel Farage from the Reform Party going there and representing Britain, and he's like part and parcel of everything, which is like, again, very interesting. And the current government within the UK, if you look at them, senior members of the Labour Party, they've outrightly criticized, name called, done everything against Trump. So it's going to be very interesting how that relationship is going to end up being.
I heard
Still,
Modi wasn't invited either, so I'm not really sure what's going on.
who wasn't invited?
Modi.
Why would they invite Modi?
Modi was invited, but Jay Shankar is going. So Modi took a downstep. So the foreign minister of India is going. But
Shaji, I'm hearing that's more of a damage control that's happening, because I think the Chinese president was invited, but they
he
said that
refused.
he refused. And it's interestingly, Modi was not invited at all. I mean, there was a general invitation that was given. I mean, to almost all countries, but there were a lot of people who were invited, personally, like Chinese president, but that he just didn't come.
He
So
sent
he,
his diplomat or something.
Yep. So that's just a general invitation. That, like, anybody would be going there. But
But,
yeah,
the reason why I mentioned the UK is because, like, even if Modi was not invited, even though Indians might think that they are like ahead of diplomatic wars around the globe and geopolitical new kid on the block kind of thing, but nobody really takes them seriously to that extent as China or Russia or the European countries. But when it comes to the United Kingdom, there's supposed to be something known as the special relationship. And the interesting part is that Reform Party leadership is there right now. They're right in the core, sitting with Trump. And they're the new party, which is kind of emerging in the UK. They're actually thinking of a takeover in 3.5, 4 years' time, and they seem to be very much endorsed by this Trump administration, which is interesting. So,
Trump.
Shaji, I think sooner, maybe it's already happening. You must have seen it in Germany, even in Italy. You would see the rise of right wings in Europe.
AFD and
It's,
everything.
and it's got to do something with immigrants, illegal immigrants.
They should stop making wars everywhere. They'll stop going there.
but there's one thing I'd like to point out. Nigel Farage is not really racist, and even though he might be bordering towards the right wing in certain ways, but some of the stuff which Reform Party and its members are talking about is pretty much the truth. For example, their current chairman happens to be a Sri Lankan Muslim guy. I mean, how can that party be racist in
Shaji,
that?
that's just cosmetics, in my opinion. But here's the thing, though.
But there's another thing, Arsalan. He's one of the main funders of that party. That party is running on Yusuf's money.
Oh, so here's the thing. When it comes to money, all right, everybody's race, religion becomes one. So I mean, think about this. When Trump was running in 2016, he was very vocally open, vocally like against Muslims. All right, he was speaking a lot. This time he did not do that because he was expecting like Muslim vote, and he did got it, to be honest. But in 2016, that was not the case. But guess what? There's that one person I think Jacksonville Jaguars owner Shahid Khan, all right, Shahid Khan, who 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 they like. I mean, PTI
The
people.
funny bloke with
Yeah,
long
he's saying
hair.
that he's giving $1 billion to the damn fund.
Yeah,
That guy.
that guy, the
That guy.
funny guy with
Yeah, he
funny
gave.
hair.
He gave $1 million to Trump campaign in 2016. Okay, despite all his anger, despite all his. And here's the thing: when Trump was vocally speaking against people who were kneeling, all right, again that quarterback I forgot, Colin Kaepernick, yeah. When he was speaking that, he literally jumped into and he's like, no, 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 no. That's I'm going to support my players who wants to do that. Again, why he did the first he gave him $1 million because hey, you're gonna make a lot of money out of him. And then when it comes to cosmetics or at least hey, what makes him look good, he came out and he supported his so-called players. So the point what I'm just trying to make right now is that when it comes to after a certain level, all right, you're going to find a lot of people forgetting about race, religion, and all that stuff. That happens. I guarantee if Elon Musk finds a couple of millionaires who are not just Pakistanis but Mirpuris, all right, he would prefer them over anyone else because guess what? He's making money. That's the thing. After a certain time, you just. But yeah,
But overall, if you look at the Western society as a whole, I think it was going pretty haywire. People are generally angry. If you look at the cost of living, it's gone up. if you look at the demographics, a lot of crimes do occur in these communities, and we have to be honest about that.
Shaji, I'm not denying that. I completely agree with
And look, there's another thing. The far left, they went into. I remember just 3.5, 4 years ago, if you wanted to speak about anything related to the LGBTQ or gender-related issues or anything in those regards, you said a word, and there would be an army behind you, army of people with weird hair colors and everything, and they'll just be like, how dare you say that? And the cancel culture, I think the cancel culture is so finished at this moment in time. People are fed up. It's not, I actually do not believe that Trump has actually changed people's mind. He's actually riding a wave of anger. He's actually riding that wave.
Oh yeah, I agree. But here's the thing:
Shaji,
two different things.
how dare you attack colored hair?
I'm talking about weird colored hair,
Yeah,
neons.
exactly. Weird colored hair.
Yeah,
Shaji, you'll be
that's
canceled today.
weird.
You'll be canceled by Mahan today. That's just gonna happen today, right on January.
Hair color has nothing to do with the political
I mean, the
agendas.
LGBTQ, the biggest thing I think which they did is they hijacked the rainbow. Rainbow needs to be
Shaji,
returned to the
that's what I'm
children.
saying. Here's this. This is what exactly my point is. That when it comes to talking to the masses, all right, these elites are very different compared to like how they treat each other, regardless of race, religion. And it's a very interesting thing that you brought this up, because in 2016, when the Pulse Night shooting took place, all right, in that gay bar in I think in Florida, I believe, yeah. It's interesting that all that time Trump was like, I will protect you guys, I will save you. When he was nominated, he said that, you know what, I'll protect you, LGBTQ, from a foreign, hateful ideology. And he, when people clapped for him, he said that, I'm very happy that you Republicans or GOP clapped on this matter. Okay, and LGBTQ, a lot of them voted for him. Not as much as like Hillary got, but still he got a lot more LGBTQ vote than a lot of GOP ones. Right. This time he's and it's interesting that the guy who shot in that Pulse Night bar, later on FBI admitted that he did not even know that it was a gay bar. He just went, and so again, I mean, yeah, of course, whatever he did was hateful and wrong, and absolutely, it was terrorism. But it was not based on his homophobia. But he did ride that wave. Now it is, he's seeing that, okay, people are not really happy with it, so he's trying to go other way. My only point, what I'm just trying to make again and again, is that there are problems. They need to be. But let me complete what I'm saying. Let me complete what I'm saying. Just 1 second.
Go ahead.
Okay, just 1 second. My only thing is that there are problems. There are where you can say,
Are you there, Arsalan?
Can you hear me?
Arsalan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can't hear
Hello?
you.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. So, okay, go ahead, Shaji. What you were saying?
I was just basically saying that if you look at the general society, I think many people in Western societies as a whole are not really interested in the LGBTQ kind of a malarkey which was going on, because it doesn't apply to everyone.
I think the problem with this was that back in the days, like back when the old civilization, all of these homosexuality and these things were happening, but nobody shoved it down anybody's throat. In today's time, it's being shoved down other people's throats, right? Children are being taught these things that they shouldn't be knowing right now, the hormonal therapies and all that. It's like if you say and slightly something, you can just end up in jail, or about this homophobia and everything. I think that's what people are fed up of. I don't think generally a lot of people care about who's doing what with whom in a bedroom, but the way it's been shoved down everybody's throat, I think that's the main problem.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to ask Arsalan or Zulfi, how many times have they gone out on their streets and told people they're red-blooded heterosexual males? How many times have you done that? Because I know I've never done that.
I haven't done it either. Again, Shaji, my point what I'm just trying to make is that yes, these are all the problems. I'm not denying that. My only thing is that they are not the problem while why we have this horrible economy lately. That's what I'm just trying to make. I mean, think about this, all right? In UK, you guys had conservative government for I think like I mean almost more than a decade, or
Yeah, yeah,
and
15 years
yeah,
maybe.
15 years, all right? And you like Brexit was tried. Hey, how did that turn out to be? But nobody's really talking about that anymore because people are talking about the grooming gangs. And again, that is a problem. That absolutely is a problem that needs to be worked on. But this is a particular way for a lot of conservative parties that they try to hide their incompetency using these methods. That's what I'm just saying is that this is the main problem that's coming in. If United States is literally the richest country in the world right now. Elon Musk if he has $400 billion, he cannot even use that in his 10 lifetimes. But but he has, he's like, oh, okay, let me just try to, stir the pot of H1B or stir the pot of, grooming gangs. That's what what my point is at this point is that if you try, this has to do a lot with money mismanagement. If that works out, 90% of these problems that we're talking about will end up working out themselves. That's going to happen, and then of course, once the economy is good, then sure we can talk about all these things. We can definitely talk about with them, in parallel. Absolutely, I'm saying that we can absolutely do, and we should talk about these problems. But these problems should not be talked as in as a form of deflection from the main problems. That's all I just think.
Mm, mm. So, but how should they be spoken about? These were the agendas, and these were the points which were basically used in terms of how he came into power, right? That is what. So people do expect him to do certain things.
Actually, he came in power because he was saying that he would get rid of inflation right away. That's how he got in power. And like it's very interesting. The day he got elected, after that, he's like, "Oh, I can't bring the egg prices down." That's a reality. People literally voted for him for economical reasons, and this is Shaji. This is gonna be a thing forever. Let's just say you can have a a government that says that what we will well, if not mistreat, but we will let's just say there's a government that is very anti-Mexicans or anti-Muslim or anti something like that. All right, Mexicans or Muslims or blacks or anybody will vote for that government as long as they can guarantee that despite their hate they would not be persecuted, and their pockets will be still filled. They'll still achieve the American dream. If that's possible, people are still going to vote for them compared to a party that's all roses and like I mean sunshine, but they're not guaranteeing them that economical advantage. So that's a reality that's going to happen, and again, the reason your labor was voted, this is the reason, is that people weren't really agreeing with everything that they're saying, but hey, they're like, at least they're better than conservatives. They've destroyed
But what's happened? It's not even been 6 months. We've seen riots. We've seen the situation of
and that's what I was
government.
talking about. This is a conservative cheap tactics. That's exactly my point. They do
Oh,
this on
but
purpose.
Salam, I do not believe that these are just tactics. When I speak to an average British person, it doesn't matter in regards to if they happen to be of Pakistani background, Indian background, black background, in terms of their ethnicity. They can be religiously Muslims, Jews, Christians, Caucasian, whites, everything. There is a basic discontent with the entire situation, and they all talk about these issues. and I've never witnessed that in my life before, at least.
So that's my question to them. I mean, like, if you can ask them, is that okay? Do they really want to focus on these issues more, or they want to focus on the economy more? Because if, I mean, sure, these issues are real, but they're not going. Let's just say if you solve them today, they're not going to fill your pockets. That's the thing. How are you going to pay your mortgage or rent? How are you going to like buy your grocery if your economy is all messed up? So, and the reason I'm actually like bringing this thing up again and again is that this is one of the ways even Hitler got in power. Economy of Germany was absolutely horrible. It was so horrible that there was a saying that there was an old woman who got, she wanted to buy a loaf of bread, and she had, whatever the currency of Germany that was, that much money she had in her basket. All right. And the shopkeeper said that, okay, the loaf of bread is there, so she went there to get it. And when she came back, the money was there, but the basket was gone because the basket costed more than the money that was in the basket. And this is how exactly he was able to get in power. This is
No,
another
of
piece.
course. So
Yeah.
that's the extreme side of things. But do you actually believe that Trump happens to be that extremist,
No, 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 no. I'm
or
just
is
saying.
somewhere in the
I don't
middle?
think so. He's that extremist. I'm not saying that. As a matter of fact, I don't think so. Any any leader is that extremist. My point, what I'm just trying to make right now, is that this is what happens. Is that when your economy is bad, that's exactly what happens. And this is one of the reasons that UK got all, in 6 months there are riots, in 6 months there's let's just talk about the grooming gangs again, all that stuff, despite the fact that they had almost, we can say 15 years to solve this problem, but they did not. The reason is because they know that they have, messed the economy up. And the only thing that they have right now is to talk about these things. Even a lot of the things that, a lot of the issues that we're having right now in the United States is because of horrible conservative policies like these so-called tax breaks. They have literally and here's the thing a lot of people don't really understand is that when you're giving people tax breaks, it's not that, oh, you've got. Is Trump talking again?
No, I think we've just got that in the background. So I think it's Ben speaking now. We should just listen to the
Yeah, let's listen to him.
Yep. And
That
then
was a good way to start it off. I didn't know exactly what the president would put in that speech, and I hoped to myself that he wasn't going to hold back. And sir, you didn't hold back. That was a hell of a way to start the next 4 years. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for the president and for all of us, thank you for making this possible. We love you. We wouldn't be here without you, and we're going to make America great again together for the next 4 years. And the last thing I'll say is, having stood outside for about 5 minutes to wave goodbye to the Bidens, thank God we moved that thing indoors because it was a beautiful ceremony and it was cold as hell outside. So, sir, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
No, he's right. I said, oh, look at this beautiful sunny day. We blew it. And then I went outside and we were freezing. You would have been very unhappy. The sun was very deceptive, I will tell you. It is cold out. And I'm sort of saying, that was so beautiful today. Maybe they should do it there every 4 years. Does that make sense? I don't know. Because, the outdoor thing is really good, but it's a little cold around this time of the year, as some people have noticed. And a lot of times they suffer through it. There was no suffering in that room. It was 70 degrees. It was perfect with the best acoustics I think I've ever heard in a room. This is not so bad either. But I just want to say, you're a younger, far more beautiful audience than I just spoke to. And I want to keep it off the record. I want to keep that off the record because I don't want to have all those big shots up there. I don't want to think you're more powerful than them. You look better than them, and I love you. We just had a great time. We just had a great day. This was amazing. You know, when you think we took a journey, I mentioned in the speech, a lot of people said that was not a journey that was possible, and it was indeed possible. I didn't really know too much about what they were saying when they said that, but a lot of people felt it. And we hooked up with JD very early. I watched JD over a period of time. I endorsed him in Ohio. He was a great senator, and very, very smart. The only one smarter than him was his wife. That was, I would have chosen her, but somehow the line of succession didn't work that way, right? But now she's great and he's great. This is a great, beautiful couple and unbelievable career. I just said to him, you are very upwardly mobile, because he hasn't been doing it that long, but he picked it up so quickly. Remember, the first week was a little bit like the fake news was hitting him really hard. And I said, oh, this may be tough, but after that, it was smooth sailing for him. He took on everybody. He took on the meanest. I don't want to use the word corrupt because we're into a new system, so let's wait till the corruption begins, because it will. But he took on some pretty mean people, and he handled it well. I want to also congratulate Mike Johnson for the job that he's doing. Steve, we gave him a majority of almost nothing. And then I said, to make it tougher on him, let me take 2 or 3 of the people, right? I said, he'll only have to suffer with that for about 3 months. How are they doing, by the way? Is that moving along? I said, do you mind if I take this one, that one, and a couple of others? He didn't mind. He can handle it. No, he's a man that's liked by everybody. I've never met a man like this. You've got how many is it, 219 or 220 or something? 220. And of the 220, 219 really like him. I noticed he got 1 negative vote once about 2 weeks ago. But I think even 220 like him, if you want to know the truth. And that's very unusual. I know a lot of nice guys in Congress, and they have 35 people that hate him. So if you have 35 people that hate you and you only have 1 or 2 or 3 votes, you'll have 5, I think. But that's going to be like, you know, the good news is when we get to that 5 number, it's going to feel like a massive majority. You could be really nasty to a couple of them at least. Yeah? So it's going to feel like hitting your head on the wall and stopping. It feels so good to stop. But he's done a fantastic job. And Steve Scalise is, he's our hero because, you know, I was with him. You talk about being shot. I was with him. He got some bad ones, and his incredible wife, and she really loves him. You know, you never know about that. I've been with other people. They were doing poorly, and the wife is like looking at her watch. She can't get out of the hospital fast enough. How's he doing? Oh, I don't know. He's all right. That woman was a mess. She was crying and crying. No, they're going to take him. They're going to take him. I told Steve when he finally woke up, it was a while too. The doctor told me it was the most blood they've ever transfused in any patient. They've never done anything like it. And here he is, the picture of strength, right? And he's been a great friend of mine. Right? With the family, because of the family. And what a job you did. It worked out pretty much better than we even thought, right? And I did have a couple of things, you know, to say that were extremely controversial. And between JD and Melania and anybody else that heard, please, sir, it's such a beautiful unifying speech. Please, sir, don't say these things. I said, I'm telling you, it's going to play great. They said, you're right. For this group of people, it's going to play great. You're the only ones I heard by not, but we had some beauties, didn't we, Melania? She said, sir, calls me sir when she's angry. No, I'm only kidding. I better say I'm only kidding, or the press is going to pick that one up loud and clear. No, but she said, no, I think it would be terrible. It's such a nice speech. I think it's, you know, it all depends on your delivery. How was the delivery? Was it good? But she said it's such a beautiful speech. You can't put things in there that you were going to put in. And I was going to talk about the J6 hostages, but you'll be happy because, you know, it's action, not words that count. And you're going to see a lot of action on the J6 hostages. And I was going to talk about the things that Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes, like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, where they literally, I mean, what they did is they destroyed and deleted all of the information, all of the hearings, practically not a thing left. They deleted all the information on Nancy Pelosi having turned down the offer of 10,000 soldiers. You wouldn't have needed 10,000. You could have had 500, and it would have stopped. Because we may have had 1 million people that day, the people that were there. You don't see any photographs, but we have a lot of great photos. But you don't see those photographs. They don't put them in. They show the people at the Capitol. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow. I said, how about now in front of the I'll bring it up right now. You know, and this little time delay is good because we're getting great reviews on the speech. Now watch, they'll take the speech and say, I didn't like it because he left there and he talked to people, but we're giving you a little more information than we gave upstairs. But no, they pardoned a lot of people. They pardoned, before we even get to today, they pardoned, 33 murderers, absolute murderers, the worst murderers. You know, when you get the death sentence in the United States, you have to be bad because they don't give it much. And he pardoned almost everybody having a death sentence. And if you went through the crimes that were committed, you wouldn't even believe them. The level of violence, the people that were killed, the innocence of people that were killed and children killed by these people. And he pardoned them for whatever reason. He spared them, but they didn't spare the people that they killed. And you know, who knows what happens in the future. It's one of the worst because a lot of times they let them out early after that. You know, they say you're going to be in for life, but then all of a sudden they get let out for good behavior and then they go on a rampage. You know, it's one of those little things, right? But I was going to talk about that. But I was really going to talk about the level of, you know, what's going on. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Milley? Why are we doing Milley? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? I mean, Liz Cheney is a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crying. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying. I looked at him. I remember years ago, he was actually on my side. And then one day, you know, when you don't want to kill people in wars, they turn against you. Liz Cheney hated the concept of not going to war with everybody. Let's kill everybody. Let's spend a lot of money on military equipment, you know, where her father works, right? And, but what she did was incredible. Think of it. They destroyed and deleted all of that information that went on for almost 2 years against Trump. And the reason they did, because it was all false. Like the person that said, I tried to strangle a Secret Service agent. That's one of the toughest human beings I think I've ever seen. I actually had a friend say, please don't change that, sir. You are the coolest sucker in history. Remember, she said, I put my hands around his neck because he wouldn't go to the Capitol. Made up fiction. And I was rebuffed. And the guy on the right is a massive weightlifter, probably stronger than me. Do you think he's stronger than me, honey? You know who I'm talking about. Possibly stronger than me. Slightly younger than me, like, I won't say how many years because I don't want to talk about that, but a lot of years. But I had a friend that said, why are you disputing that story? That's the coolest story I've ever heard. That I would attack a karate champion, get slightly rebuffed, and then throw my arms around a guy with a neck about this big. Even though there are bars, you know, there are bars, you can't really do that anyway. So I wanted to talk about that. But all of that stuff got deleted. And the reason it got deleted is they were all caught in lies. You know, Secret Service testified and they said it didn't happen. Actually, the two guys were very embarrassed. They're suffering because their friends are saying, did Trump really do that to you? But they gained a whole new respect for me. But it was just make-believe stuff. And there were a lot of make-believe stories made up. So rather than suffer the wrath, like the story with Nancy Pelosi, I offered her 10,000 soldiers. She knows it. She admitted it on tape that her daughter made. She's a videographer or whatever you call her, which I'm glad she is. Oh, she can't be in good stead with Nancy. But Nancy said it was my responsibility as she's leaving the Capitol. She said it was, and it was. She's in charge of security at the Capitol. But I offered them up to 10,000 soldiers, even more. One time I said more, as many as you need, but you needed 400 or 500. If 4 or 5, you 10,000, that would be more than the number of people there by lot. But we offered her 10,000. Think of it, 10,000 soldiers. In other words, J6 wouldn't be J6. There would have been no J6. But she rebuffed them. She didn't like it. No, she didn't like it. Maybe she wanted that to happen, but she's guilty as hell. And now we would have to go through the process because they destroyed all evidence. They deleted everything. There's virtually nothing left. The other fake story and so many other fake stories. And many people came out on our side, and those people now would got to find them. There's nothing left. So that's a criminal offense. If that were a civil case, it would be a criminal offense. If that happened civilly where you did that, it would be a criminal offense. So I decided I'm not going to make this speech complicated. I'm going to make it beautiful. I'm going to make it a unifying speech. And then when they said we have a group of people that are serious Trump fans, I said, this is the time to tell those stories. You know. So anyway, but seriously, I'd like to, I think it was a tremendous success. I think we're very lucky we put it inside because it is really cold. We just went to the helicopter out of respect to something that's taken place for a long time. I guess it's as old as helicopters. You used to get into a stagecoach, now you get into a helicopter. Times change. But it's pretty old custom. And it's a beautiful custom, actually. It's a beautiful custom. I wish we could have had a better relationship. I wish we could have had a better relationship between Republicans and Democrats. I was with Senator Schumer. I said, Chuck, I think it's time we all start getting along a little bit because it doesn't make sense. I mean, we literally never get a Democrat vote. They never get a Republican vote, almost. And although there is a bill coming up very shortly that we have a lot of Democrat votes, right? It's going to be a very beautiful bill. We're going to have a deciding, I would say, within a week or so, I think. And it's going to be a very good bill. You all know what I'm talking about. So I just want to thank you all for being here. You have been our fans from day one. All these people all over. You've been our fans. This has been there's never been anything like it. There's never been anything like it. This has been a movement like no movement ever in history for probably any country, let alone this country. You know, if somebody's running for president, and if they go out and they announce they're going to Arizona, they're going to Nevada, they're going to someplace, if you have 200 or 300 people, that would be standard. Ronald Reagan would go out. I mean, outside of the last couple of days where people get a little excited, but even then you have a couple of thousand people. But if you're going to go someplace, any place, any one of the swing states, any one of the other states, I mean, how about the non-swing states? We won Alabama by 48 points. We won Tennessee by massive numbers. Wyoming, we won by numbers that are, nobody's ever seen numbers like that. And, you know, places like California, we did great, but when they send out like 38 million ballots, nobody knows where the hell they're sending them, and then they come pouring back, the whole thing. You know, they passed a law in California that if you work in an election bureau and if you so much as ask for a voter ID, if you say, sir, ma'am, could I please look at your voter ID? They have the right to put you in jail. You're a criminal. Can you believe that? There's only one reason that happens. They want to cheat. So they had it where voter ID wasn't accepted. But now if you even ask for it, this is seriously a bill that was just signed, passed in their legislature, and it was signed. And I think when we get things cleaned up and we get back to a little bit of normalcy, I'm going to ask the speaker to really get involved because I think we would have won the state of California because, if you look at my numbers with Hispanic, we're at 56%. And we won the Texas border that had never been won. As the governor said, he's doing a good job, the governor, by the way, of Texas. But as the governor said, it hasn't. Oh, did I get lucky? Did I get lucky? Supposing I said, he's not here, but the governor of Texas has done a terrible job. Wow, look at you. You mean we couldn't get you up in the front row? I tell you. Supposing I said, JD, the governor of Texas, he's not doing his job. You heard what I said. See, I didn't know you were there. I said he's doing a great job. He's doing a phenomenal job. But now you're going to have a partner that's going to work with you because you didn't have, not only didn't he have a partner, he had people selling the wall, right? We have a fence structure that we worked on, the governor worked on with me. And I didn't love it, to be honest with you. I wanted a nice precast concrete, 40, 50 feet high, like a beautiful, could have been a T-shaped, Y-shape. I love construction. I wanted that sucker to go up maybe 50, 60 feet. It would have looked beautiful, a nice Y shape. And they said, the problem is, sir, they climbed that like a rabbit. I said, what do you mean? No way. And they brought some of these guys out. They climbed it like. And the other thing is you hit it with acid and the thing will disintegrate. They have things for concrete. So they needed very hardened steel, very special steel. And then they needed 7,000-pound concrete inside that steel, inside that steel. And then they have a rebar that's the toughest steel made. Very hard to cut. So this is why very little is cut. I mean, it's right. And then they put a anti-climb panel on top. I hated it. I said, it's so unattractive. And I said, why would that work? I don't believe it works. And I went to watch the Border Patrol, gave a display. We had actually two sets of climbers. The guys that climb up walls with drugs on their back, I mean, they got like 60, 70 pounds of drug and they go as fast as you can walk. They go bip, bip, bip. Or we have Mount Everest type climbers. And honestly, the drug guys were much better. I couldn't. The drug guys blew them away, right? But it's true, the anti-climb panel, they couldn't get around it. They just couldn't. When you didn't have it. So sometimes you sacrifice beauty for efficiency. And we did. So we built this wall, and we built over 500 miles of wall. That's why we had such good numbers. The famous chart that came down, very thankfully, the chart that came down on my right, Governor. Had I not looked over there, I'm not speaking right now. You might be speaking there. You want to know the truth? You, JD, and we've got a lot of great people in this party, but I got very lucky, but we had the best numbers we've ever had. But I bought, what happens is when you fill it up, it's like water. You fill it up. Now we have 571 miles of wall. And they would always say, when we renovated a wall, so there'd be like a piece of plywood sitting there for 60 years, or a 2x4 sitting for 60 years on the ground and rotting. Because, and they say, you didn't build a new wall. Here we're building 50 feet up in the air, 30 feet sections, 50-foot sections, all steel, all concrete, all everything. And all, by the way, they don't even want me to say this, but what the hell, doesn't take that long time. They're all wired for all of the equipment. We put wires in everything so they can easily wire for all the different types of equipment. And if there's a doubt, we have a wire. Whenever we just look, you just find the wires all over the place up top. So we could just hook it up. We don't have to have wires on the outside, which wouldn't do too well, right? So anyway, so we built an extra 200 miles of wall, and the governor wanted to buy it. He tried to buy it, and they wouldn't sell it to him. He wanted to put it up himself. Could have been done in 3 to 4 weeks, 200 more miles, because when you do it now, they just keep going further out, further out, further out, getting around. So we did an extra 200 miles, and it was all bought, and they announced that they're not going to put it up. And that's when I realized they wanted open borders. And that's when I realized that people are going to come pouring through the wall like nobody's ever seen before. But you've seen it. A lot of you are here because of that. I made it my #1 issue. They all said inflation was the #1 issue. I said, I disagree. I think people coming into our country from prisons and from mental institutions is a bigger issue for the people that I know. And I made it my #1. I talked about inflation too, but how many times can you say that an apple is doubled in cost. I'd say it and I'd hit it hard, but then I go back to the fact that we don't want criminals coming into our country. We don't want the jails of every country in the world virtually being deposited into the United States. And that man had to suffer with it. And he did an unbelievable job. I'll tell you, he was a very popular governor, but now he's like an unbeatable governor because of your border policies. He was fantastic. And he really was. So. Governor Abbott, he's a great man, great leader. And, but it did make him very more, did you do it? You didn't do that for politics. You did it because you wanted to do the right thing. But I'll tell you, it sure as hell worked for politics too. It's self-preservation, that's right. But no, because the people are demanding it. The people of Texas are demanding it. The people are demanding it all over. So anyway, so we built it and they wouldn't let us use it. They wouldn't let the governor use it. And other governors, they wouldn't let him use it. But he was the leader of the pack and did a great job. And then we heard about a month ago that not only wouldn't they let us use it, they were selling it, they were going to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. Now, 5 cents on the dollar then, but today it would cost more than twice as much to build because we bought it like 6 years ago. And it was just sitting on the ground, and that does not do well for the whole thing. But it was just sitting on the ground, and I heard about it. And I called the governor and I called a lot of people, your attorney general. And here's the story. They were going to buy it, and these are great business people. They were going to buy it for 5 cents on the dollar or less. And they were calling us up, we'll sell it to you for 200 cents on the dollar. In other words, it will cost you twice as much. So it's 200 cents on the dollar. I said, can somebody explain that to a judge? I mean, how corrupt is that? You'd think they'd say, maybe we'll sell it to you for 20 cents, 30 cents, but not 200 cents. So they were going to buy something for 5 cents and they were going to sell it to us for a fortune. They were going to make it be, they'd have it down in Fortune magazine.
Okay, I think he's gone on for a bit too long. We can listen to him later on. I'd like to welcome Mr. Jazwani and Andolan and Heather into the conversation. We've got Arsalan back as well. And we've got Mr. Raza, who's basically a journalist in the UK, in the conversation as well. First of all, I'm going to go to Mr. Andolan. Andolan, can you hear me? Andolan?
Yeah, you're audible.
So, Andolan, how are you basically taking Trump's victory? You must have heard his speech. You've seen it here. How do you think it's going? What do you think the impact is going to be?
So, we have a comparable data point. He's not a new entrant. We have seen 4 years, how he behaved earlier. And then a subsequent 4 year by the opposition party of US, which is the Democrat Party. And, since I'm not an American, I would probably view it from a perspective, a global perspective, the impact of these two guys. And if I recall correctly, when Trump was in power, in 2016 all the way to 2020, there was less bloodshed, across the globe. World was probably a safer place, and suddenly as the regime changed, we saw, the starting flashpoint in Afghanistan, flashpoints in Middle East, which is Israel-Palestine, and then flashpoint up there in Russia and Ukraine, apart from other, flashpoints which we saw in Bangladesh, we saw in Syria, regime change, etc. Hopefully, with Trump back in, the governors in US, we'd probably see lesser bloodshed, lesser conflicts in the globe. That's my hope. Let's see how it goes from here.
So, but how do you view this from India's perspective? You being from an Indian background, and obviously one of the interesting thing is that the Chinese president was invited very, very directly, and he refused to turn up. On the other hand, we've seen in the past that the Modi government, as well as India, have kind of been closer to Trump in his first era, and he was referred to as a very close friend by Narendra Modi, but neither do we see Narendra Modi. He's being represented by Jay Shankar in the actual ceremony, or an array of ceremonies which are being held. So do you think that's due to differentiation, or something, that there is a distance because of friendship between India and Russia, or do you think this is just ongoing process, and India is kind of looking how to proceed as well with the Indian government?
So I think the invitation was extended for the Indian premier as well, and Dr. Jaishankar was the foreign minister for the country, is representing the country on behalf of the Prime Minister of India. So that's point number one. Point number two: Donald Trump has been elected the president of the United States. And no doubt that US is one of the most powerful countries in the globe, so it has its influence across the world. What we had seen in the earlier regimes also, he wasn't, I would, he was neutral to India, so as to say. He didn't did anything particularly positive, or for that matter, negative. In business sense, you can call it that he, did some of the tariff wars with India also in his earlier regime. So slightly negative business perspective, but then again, he had a good personal equation with the Prime Minister of India. And what went to our advantage, so as to say, was his stance on China. With respect to, he was able to curtail China as a part of a broader policy of US to curtail China. He was quite effective in that. That helped us more than any direct help for India as such. We expect roughly the same kind of a relationship with the US as was with the Biden regime, as well as this thing. However, we definitely see a hope that the Bangladesh event, which was orchestrated by the earlier Biden government, probably would see a reversal, or something which is more favorable for the people of Bangladesh and for the people of India. That's the only area where we see less of interference from US, because Trump is been, at least in his earlier regime, known to be less interested into others' business. His focus has primarily been India, and most of these speeches that he has given, even in this term, is focused towards America rather than intervening in the affairs of another countries. So the only positive sign we see is probably the unrest and the attacks on Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh, which was caused by the regime change of US. They may go down, and that's the only hope we see from Bangladesh. Other than it's a normal business as usual.
But in the last term, he was referred to as a very dear, close friend of Narendra Modi, and it seems like that extension was not taken by India. Was it due to diplomatic reasons?
The invitation was granted. Currently in India, there are a couple of elections which are going on, which are important ones, and then of course there could be priority. I do not know the Prime Minister's schedule. Yeah. So even during this tenure and during his campaign, Donald Trump referred to the Indian Prime Minister as a close friend several times. So we do not see any challenges from a relationship perspective, on a one-to-one perspective. We share a lot of values with American democracy. India is a democracy, so we don't see any challenges there.
Would you say he's just being a bit careful in balancing between Russia and the US at this stage, and he's just being a bit cautious?
It's a possibility, because India has made its stance quite clear that when it comes to Russia, Ukraine, or for that matter any other matter, India would have its own stance. It would have a multilateral relationship with countries. It would not segment itself as a follower or a, block for any country. So while we as a country participate in the G20s, at the same time we have strengthened the BRICS framework as well. So both the things have been quite effective for us.
Okay, understandable, interesting. So now I'm going to go to Mr. Jaswani. Mr. Jaswani happens to be an American living in America. He's of Pakistani origin. So I'm sure he's heard the speech. He joined us a bit late. He was probably busy listening to and watching the inauguration. What's your general opinion in terms of immigration? That's something which he's directly mentioned. He's mentioned there are only going to be two genders. Do you see this as an end of woke culture in the United States, Mr. Jaswani?
Absolutely. Am I
Go
audible?
ahead. Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah, that's absolutely. He actually started with there are only two genders, male and female. And this whole culture that is being introduced into the school, and it just got to such a point it was really, really, really ridiculous. I have seen his first tenure, and probably I don't remember if I've shared that with you or not. When he took his office, obviously it takes a couple of years, when his policies gets enforced, when the Obama thing just fell off, you know what I mean? And I had set aside based on my income for that years for $22,000 I set aside. And after I sent all the data to my accountant, and I discovered I only had to pay $7,500 for all the tax benefits and increase the standard deductions to $24,000. So a lot of businessmen benefited from him being in the office, and which was good for the business people over here. In regards to his policy, what was the name before me? Andolan. He's absolutely right. There was, we have not experienced the bloodshed we have seen during the Biden administration across the globe. You being directly in Pakistan, me from Pakistan, we have seen the regime change in Pakistan and how it has affected 240 million people. What happened in Bangladesh and other part of the world, which we are not even aware of, because I think I shared with you the Tucker Carlson interviewed this one dude. I'll probably share that video with you at some point. That there's a whole department in the State Department. Basically, it's a comprised of the regime change artists. They work alongside Pentagon and the CIA. That's their whole job is. And obviously, a lot of unrest across the globe.
Have we lost the mic? I'm not able to hear.
And we have observed a lot of bloodshed, their policy that has affected humanity to a great extent. So we are hoping, I'm not discarding their power still, because maybe they say, just let this guy, give him 4 years, and so what comes in the future, like, his policies. Now, the fact that they have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the majority vote. So they have the opportunity to bring certain changes. My wish would be, it's my wish list, I don't think it's going to happen, it may or may not, is to have one, that immunity law be reversed, where the big pharma has immunity against vaccination and stuff. And also the Federal Reserve Act should be reversed, and they should be audited. A lot of this black money that sifts through, that particular entity, that needs to be exposed. And let's see what gets exposed in regards to, Kennedy assassination and Martin Luther King assassination. So he said that publicly, the release of those documents, and let's see what comes after they release it. So we are definitely hopeful in regards to Pakistan. We are definitely making an effort to reach out to certain individuals to undo a lot of stuff is being done. which has made 240 million people suffering in Pakistan. And we have observed that over the last couple of years. So
One question. When you say 240 million people suffering in Pakistan, are you referring to the removal of Imran Khan and his government? Or
yeah,
are you
overall the policies, if you look, economically, yes, they they
if we look
removed.
at the economic cursors in the recent past, the Shehbaz Sharif government, whether we like it or not, has been doing way better than what the situation was 3 or 4 years ago. And
By securing a $20 billion loan.
Well, I think part and parcel of loans and Pakistan go hand in hand. And if we look at, hold on, let me just give you an analysis, because in the last 70 years, if you look at each decade, there has not been a single year of surplus within Pakistan's entire history where there has not been certain injection or insemination of some kind of a loan. So that was also a factor in the best of Pakistan's times. So even if you look at it in that way, what I was pointing out to was a recent overview of the Goldman Sachs review in terms of how they're viewing Pakistan. And one of the things which they've kind of highlighted is that by not having Nawaz Sharif as spearheading this government and not having Imran Khan, that's kind of left Pakistan with a government which is completely quiet, out of focus, and majority of the political arguments are occurring between two figures who are not in power. One not in power directly. Nobody talks about Shehbaz Sharif, if you think about it. People talk about Nawaz Sharif and Imran Khan. And that's just left the government very, very quiet in various ways and forms. I don't know if you agree with that. I just thought
No, look, yes, injecting the nation with loans, how would you determine the state of the economy? The individual buying power, how many people have fell below the poverty line now? Like you just go to the indicators that I know from my family. My brother now has to work 2 jobs. The amount of bills he has to pay, it's unbelievable. There are people who have a support, let's say you, myself, and people like us who has family, they're able to at least render some help. What about the people who doesn't have the resources? So anyway, this whole economy thing is just a facade. I think it's very, very, very horrible. They have no intention. In the recent decision you have seen against Imran Khan on this 190 million pound case and stuff, and that tells you what the intention of the government is, where they're what is that they are trying to accomplish for the Pakistan. Without handling corruption, rule of law. I know of one thing for sure. Have you seen that there was the chief minister of Punjab? He was inaugurating this cloud seeding thing, after that Salab and all that stuff. And so I was in Pakistan, and I received a phone call from a friend of mine that there's a group of people. They came in, and I need your help. I said, you're from America and you can speak fluent English, and they want to do a presentation to a federal minister and the federal secretary. And the federal minister was Shiri, what's her name? From Karachi.
Shiri Mazari.
Is it Shiri Mazari?
No, are you talking about
the People's Party?
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about. Sherry Merad. What's her name again?
Yeah, it's.
I know who you're speaking about.
So it was her and a secretary. I said, well, what is the presentation? So I was given this presentation to, then I'm supposed to give that presentation to those two individuals. And it was a $500 million project that they were going to install certain equipment across Pakistan. And it's a $500 million project, between the cloud seeding and there was another technology.
Cherry Rahman.
Cherry Rahman, yeah. So it was her and they and I said, what you're getting myself into, man? So anyhow, so I met this guy there, which I've never met before. Oh, Shah Saab se hamari baat ho gayi hai, Karachi mein. So we're gonna start with the Shah Saab. I said, I refuse.
Just to let people know that he's not referring to me. It's
No, he's
someone.
not. Yeah.
Hopefully after me I've got a habit of attracting weird people behind me. As you
Yeah,
know.
I know. So then anyhow, so I said, I basically, after I received all that presentation, you know what I mean? And the reason, because it was Russian. They were involved in it with this whole situation. They want some American to do the presentation and stuff. And I refused. After I've been given all this presentation, and I discovered 2 months later when I came back to America, and he's doing this inauguration. And I bet my life on it. If a journalist investigates it, and he will find where that $500 million went. Where that so when you have such individuals whose sole intention is to make money, you think they're going to help in contributing
But do you
towards
think
bettering the economy? No.
coming into power is going to resolve this in any way?
Pardon?
I don't. You think Trump coming into power is going to resolve this issue?
No. His only thing would be, because they are being backed, that, by the State Department, and our generals are being controlled from abroad. And we have seen none of those generals after they retired. They
But that
stay in
control
Pakistan.
is going to diminish now, even if that exists.
I think it would still have some influence, because you're talking about a mighty machine of bureaucracy, of establishment, which took them decades and decades and decades to put in place. So at least we are hoping some positive outcome. You know what I mean? Some positive outcome. And we'll see what happens. We're going to make our effort. You saw, the effort we made on that resolution 101, even getting that implemented and enforced.
No, but how does Trump getting into power basically resolve this issue for Pakistan?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know yet. And there are
But
some,
why
there
so
are,
many people
because
believe that
the right person would be Atif Khan. The right person to get an answer for that is because he met with the, the, what's her name? The daughter-in-law, Trump's daughter-in-law, and they had they're still there, very close relationship and everything. So they are making their efforts, and there are certain things that are being communicated. We'll do something about it. I can't say any more than that.
Andolanji, can you hear me? Am I audible?
You're audible.
I'd like to bring you into this conversation. You've heard what Mr. Jaswani basically said. Does India expect something from Donald Trump, like majority of PTI or Pakistani people do in Pakistan? Because the more people I speak to, the more I realize that it's almost like a regime change, not just even the British people at this moment in time. When I speak from their perspective, they think that something huge is going to change in the UK because Trump is now in power. Same applies to Pakistan. A lot of people are talking about this in the Arab countries as well. So as far as Middle East and UK and parts of Europe are concerned, it seems to be it's like some savior has come into power, and he is like Trump said himself, golden era for America has begun. But it seems like there's a lot of hopes attached from Donald Trump by the rest of the people, whether it's the UK, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's the Afghans. Does India have similar expectations, or the Indians?
So, to be very honest, he's a president elect for USA. So we do not expect him to work for India. That much we are quite clear about. So he's going to work for the people who have elected him. And, there would be scenarios where to protect the interest of Americans, he might go tough on India as well. Which is perfectly legit because we do similar things to protect the interest of Indians. Our government also does not necessarily toe in line with the expectations of Americans or Russians, Chinese, so on and so forth. The priority is the interest of the Indians. Having said so, we are seeing one clear trend emerging, which is within the democratic setups. The divide between the conservatives and the liberals, so as to say, if to put it in milder terms. So while Biden was in administration, he was a pain, if I may use this term, a pain in ass for the conservative governments across the globe. The underhand support was to liberals who were in oppositions across the country. We could feel the similar tremors in the Indian politics, where what we saw in Bangladesh politics, or for that matter, somewhat in Pakistan politics, Syria politics, Iran, so on and so forth. With Trump coming into the picture, of course, wherever there is liberal government, you understand what I mean to say. Countries like UK, countries like Canada. Canada is already, you understand, things are not going, in line for the liberal government up there.
So
UK.
the president of woke has resigned in Canada. That's
Just
a joke.
No, you have to inject these statements, right, Shaji?
Of course.
So
How
the woke,
can I miss
so the
that one
woke
out?
has resigned from Canada.
The Prince of Woke has resigned in Canada. Carry on, Andolanji. Sorry about that.
So am I audible? I'm just trying to get my Bluetooth.
Yes. You're audible. You're audible.
So with the emergence of Trump back in the U.S. politics, probably the liberal politics, or so-called the left politics across the globe, specifically in democracies, would probably see a bit of challenge, and we expect a fair bit of turmoil, as expected in Canada, as we have seen in. Oh, I think there is a bit of issue. Give me a minute. I'm going on mute. Give me a minute. Just let me get these connections issues sorted out.
No worries. Arsalan and Heather, you can join in the conversation, and I think we can be pretty casual now in regards to the conversation. Anyone who wants to pitch in, you don't have to wait for me to say so. Now, my other question is, a lot of people, I don't see this as a left versus right kind of confrontation. When I speak to people, especially in the Western countries, specifically the UK, what I kind of discover is that it's not about left wing or right wing anymore. It's more like a class war. It's between the haves and have nots at this moment in time. People don't care about uh, who's left, who's right. Like I think Arsalan earlier touched on the thing. People are more worried about economics, and it's all about money.
Shaji, that's what I was saying earlier, is that I agree with you on that. As a matter of fact, yeah, as you said, mentioned, I just said earlier, the problem at the end is that people end up voting for people who are against their against their interests. Sure, Democrats were not the greatest either, in my opinion. All right, there were massive layoffs going on, and they could not even say a word that what's going on. Maybe try to protect workers or anything like that. No, absolutely not. When there was almost what we can say a strike on dock stations, and barely any word from White House. At the very same time, Trump, in my opinion, he's not going to be that great either. That's a reality. His entire cabinet is filled with people who are businessmen, and people are like, oh, great, a businessman is going to like run country better. That's not reality. That's you have to realize one thing is that when it comes to running a country, you have to take away your interests from the business. That's the reality. You have to serve people who you don't even like. You have to serve people who did not vote it for you. You have to serve people who cannot benefit you in any way. But when you bring in like businessmen and all these kind of people, they're just going to fatten their pockets, and that's what oligarchy is. Biden said correctly that the United States is leading towards oligarchy, but it's very interesting that he said it in his last couple of days, while Bernie Sanders has been saying since the 1990s that the United States is reaching going that route. So again, that's what I've been saying a lot of times, that when you're talking about the riots in the United Kingdom earlier, or you're talking about these grooming gangs or anything like that, or even this LGBTQ thing, all right, in the United States, these are, in my opinion, are distractions. These are distractions to fool the middle class to be distracted. But now we are not talking about egg prices anymore. We're
So
not
we'll
talking
just
about gas
remember
prices.
the conversation from where it is, and we'll pick it up from there. I think we've got the signing on ceremony, and we should basically listen to that for a bit, and then we'll come back
Sure.
to the conversation.
Sure.
So let me just turn the volume on.
Lastly, we have a proclamation ordering that all future inauguration days, including this inauguration day, the flag shall be flown in full mast.
I think that's not the and they have
I can't hear this clearly. Shaji?
You hear me?
Whatever you're trying to make it listen, I can't hear it.
Yeah, because they're not very audible. So that's
Yeah, it's just a signing ceremony,
yeah,
probably signing a
signing
bunch of
ceremony. I
executive
think
order. We don't
just
need to
do
listen
it,
to it, you know what I mean?
and we don't have to listen to it. But soon he's going to be passing some executive orders. So
That's what
do you
he's doing
think?
right now.
Yeah. No, he's just signed the ceremony, and now he's going to be signing the executive orders. Do you think he's already mentioned he's going to sign the immigration one? He's
What
going
is?
to sign.
Yeah, it's declaring a state of emergency, the border state of emergency. You know what I mean? So there will be one stopping, one part phase. One is the stopping all the people coming in to the U.S. And the
how
second
many
part
of
is
these are going to be blocked, and how many of these are going to
by
go?
the border czars. You know what I mean? The ICE. All the forces. You know what I mean? And they were letting people in. Now they will be stopping them.
If you remember last time when Trump came into power, he on the first day he launched a series of presidential orders, and they were rejected. They were counted. Some of them never went through. So how do you think that's there's going to be a
Well, look, the Democrat probably they will try to go to obviously if it conflicts with certain things they can go to the Supreme Courts to not follow through. They have to file a case against any order. So what happened that how it may conflict with the Constitution or laws that state uses, and that will be determined afterward. But that's what his intent is. One, to stop the immigration part of it pertaining to the wall. And the other things he mentioned, one, all the people who are being fined for not vaccinated.
Let's just go into the immigration part. Arsalan earlier basically made that statement that if all these illegal immigrants are basically taken out or something like that was to occur, that's going to be devastating for the American economy. So what's your take on that?
How
Is
how will it be devastating for the economy?
Arsalan?
Where are you gonna find construction workers? Where are you
Oh,
gonna
there are
find
plenty of
plumbers?
them. There are
Oh,
plenty
okay,
of them.
plenty of them. Can you?
I'm in that industry.
Yeah,
I have
I'm
a,
in
I have
that
a
industry
remodeling
too.
business. I have
Yeah,
a remodeling business.
so here's the thing. I understand that you're in that business and great for you, but I'm pretty sure you know that there are a lot of people who are working in that industry who are mostly alcoholics. They're wife beaters. They're not reliable people. Compared that to people who are Mexicans, who are unfortunately a lot of them are illegals, but they're reliable. You can yeah, you can find good workers, and that's your entire construction industry is dependent upon them. Even if you personally do not really use them, doesn't mean that's not how. Especially like even the bigger companies, they have to. There have been times, and even for example, if you do say that, just leave the construction right now out of that. How many farm workers are you going to find who are going to work from dawn to dusk, sitting down, and how and just like I mean doing that work, because again, even if you pay someone $100 an hour, I guarantee you cannot find
Do you
any
live in
work.
America? Do you live in America?
Yes, sir, I do live in the United States.
Which part?
Wisconsin.
Do you know who manages the farmlands? Do you know
Uh,
about all the farmers and stuff, and who actually works on those farms beside the machineries?
so what kind of like I mean, are you talking about the people who are working, who are picking up
Okay.
the strawberries
Yeah,
and all that
yeah.
stuff?
I live in Kentucky.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
plenty of cornfields and stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay. And so you're
And
saying all
if a
vacancies.
lot of the work is done by machineries and stuff, you know what I
Okay,
mean? There are
and
some
that
workers.
happened with. I understand that. And glad you brought that up because I'm in controls. All right,
Yeah.
I completely get it that there are machineries, but I think you have probably seen one or two farms. If you go around entire United States, and even if you go into manufacturing fields, you're going to find way more manual work than any developed nation should be doing. As a matter of fact, if you go right now in China, you're going to find way more robots than you find in the United States. And again, this is my bread and butter. So I'm not saying like you cannot challenge me, but by all means, I've seen that. So when you talk about those Kentucky, all those, they're just
Well,
not probably like 5 or 10%.
okay, let's say
90%.
even if I buy your logic, would that should give a license to have people come illegal into the
You
country?
are, well, you can say confusing two different things. Nobody's saying that it should be allowed. I'm not saying
Good.
that. That
So,
being said,
mhm.
it is stupid to waste billions of dollars when your egg prices are all up to try to get people, round them up, go house by house, go, look by every criminal record. That's going to cost a lot of money to kick out people who, at the end of the day, are actually benefiting your society, whether you like it or not. And this is why even Trump said that, oh, we'll kick out the criminal ones.
Well, we
Initially, he was
are
like,
sorry, brother. We are spending billions of dollars on keeping them in the country by
how? How?
giving them
Can you
money
tell
which
me
is
that?
not given to the American people, giving them
How?
residence,
Can you tell
giving
me?
them vouchers. You know
What kind of
how many
vouchers?
people stayed in the sanctuary city in hotels and stuff, and their weekly
Again,
voucher that were financial given
these
to
are
them?
all right wing propaganda. That's never been proven
No, it's not
scientifically.
true.
Okay,
It's not true anyhow.
can you provide me a link? I'm
Okay,
pretty
how
sure.
did they, where were they staying
So
in
they
New
were
York?
saying, here's the thing: the one you're talking about, so-called in sanctuary cities and all that stuff, they are technically refugees. They have a legal status. Those people are the one who get all those benefits that you're talking about.
And
But
that's all. They are all illegal immigrants.
no, they're actually legal.
It's just a
Technically,
refugee. That's the name that was given to it.
no, actually,
You,
refugee actually makes
the
them legal
legal
immigrants.
refugee. You do at the port of call. You don't do inside the sanctuary city.
Even there, here's the thing: wherever you enter from, if you are considered a refugee, you cannot be kicked out. Even Trump cannot kick them out because unless and until he takes away their refugee status, and I don't know how he's going to do that.
We'll
That's where
see. Well, it's their business. Let them see what happens, and
this is
we
their
can. Yeah.
my point here is that this is
Can I make a small point here?
was that.
No, I just wanted to weigh in. If that's okay.
Go ahead,
Good.
Alvin.
Yeah. So, 2 points. One, we were talking about we before we dwelled into this illegal migrant issue. There were a host of Labour Party workers from UK who went in US for campaigning for the Democrats. So, whether we agree or not, but there is a sort of alliance between the left liberals across the globe. They help each other out. And it's not a formal alliance, but an informal one. And similarly, that is why the regimes which have, helped the Biden administration or were being helped by the Biden administration, they are currently, feeling the pressure. And the regimes like India, which were facing the pressure of the Biden administration, would probably are feeling more relaxed. So that's largely about the earlier point which I was trying to say. On illegal immigration, I think it's a very detailed, nuanced issue. What is illegal, what is not illegal, and somewhere, I do not buy into this entire policy where if you have World Trade Organization, freely allowing the movement of goods, why shouldn't there be a free movement of services and people? So this looks a bit hypocritical, considering, from a developed nation status perspective, that they want to push their goods inside our territories, but at the same time would not want to avail the services and the manpower which we have to offer.
Sorry, Ms. Sunderland said I had somebody at the door. So
No,
I
the
left. So
point which I was making in the entire debate of immigration, I said, we normally think our mind has been constructed to think the way WTO has structured the, economic policies across the globe. So while developed nations can push their goods inside the territories of developing nations, but at the same time restrict the flow of services and manpower from those countries to the developed ones. So this seems a bit hypocritical. It needs to revise in a new economic order, and hopefully over a period of time that will probably take shape.
yeah, I get very suspicious when I hear the word, the new economic order.
Yeah, but isn't that what Trump is basically promising? He said that so many times.
I know.
Uh,
Look, he said the new economic order.
he said
So
that various times. He's
let's not
referred.
go on terminology, but if you look at the way WTO has been structured, we are the ones who are ready to buy, and free access of goods have been allowed across the globe. Why shouldn't the same parameter be allowed? So developed nations have become efficient in branding, making goods, and pushing it across the globe. But countries like India has huge amount of manpower. Why couldn't we offer those services and manpower to people across the globe on a free movement basis? They are playing on their strength, and they restricted the strength of populous countries to offer services and manpower. I'm seeing it purely from an economic standpoint, from a logical standpoint. Give whatever name you feel like.
No, I completely agree with you, but is that something the Americans would ever agree to? That's the point over here, because they're the ones who are going to be losing out a lot. If you look at it, what they're trying to portray is quite the opposite, Anulindi. Like for example, Trump has basically said he's going to stick tariffs on, just like these developing or populous countries have done on American products. So he's going the opposite direction. So you're absolutely right that there can be an issue, and from a developing countries or a populous country's perspective, that is very logical, and I would agree with that. But do you think the Western countries would benefit from that in any way or form, or they're going to even allow that?
So, what we have seen over a period of time, I can give you example of the Indian perspective. There was a lot of debate around H1B about a month back, and a lot of backlash with respect to H1B. What these people do not realize, that if you ban something like H1B, if you do not allow a lot of people to come in, what's going to happen? Businesses are going to do cost cutting. So today in India, we have companies like Oracle and IBM's, which have their third of processes moved to India. They can only take, let's say, 15,000 people in H1B visa or 5,000 people in H1B visa. What they have done is, to circumvent that, they have moved the entire processes, to India. So you've got 60,000 employees of Oracle, some 80,000 employees of Accenture, so on and so forth. The more they curb on it, the businesses are gonna move the way they move their factories to China. They're gonna move their operations and services to, the destination which can offer good services at a competitive price. With digitization, it's not a matter whether Americans like it or not. The American businessmen like it.
Absolutely. And there's another thing as well. If you think about it, they even in the UK, they're saying a lot about immigration and stuff. But when we talk about professional immigration, let's not talk about the semi-skilled and the unskilled or any other form of immigration. When we're talking about skilled or technical professional immigration, what we're basically seeing is that the West, for some reason, one reason or another, has just not produced as many professionals as they are required cross sector for decades now. And they are not going to fulfill the required gap in just like 4 years or 5 years or 8 years or 10 years. It takes 2 generations to fulfill that gap. It's very well some Caucasian or even a brown or a black man of Indian, Pakistani, or Caucasian origin who refers to himself or herself as an American or a British, saying that their jobs are being taken by immigrants. But my friend, whatever your name is, you're just a hillbilly. You're not going to become a doctor overnight. You did not go to school for it. And for whatever reason, these economies or these countries have failed in producing skilled labor, or let's just refer to it, or professionals cross sector for so many decades now. If they don't want their economies to shrink, and they just want to sustain the economy at the level where it happens to be at this point in time, they require professional immigration. They require those doctors, they require those engineers, they require those scientists, they require those accountants, because you have not locally produced any to the amount which is required. And if you do not do that, then Mr. Ijaz, I'll come to you. I would like you to
No,
answer
you're,
this
I agreed. I totally agree.
as
Look,
well. If you're going to do that, the question is over here, then are you willing to accept that dent in your economy? As a British person, I can tell you that the NHS is going down. We have shortage of doctors, we have shortage of nurses, we have shortage of engineers, we have shortage of various kinds of backgrounds. Now,
look,
where is that
that's
going to be
you're talking
fulfilled?
about. You're talking about. There's a professional people like in the nursing, healthcare, technology. Yes, there's a whole process in place. And a lot of stuff that is ignored. One of the part of the process is, let's say if you want somebody for a specific skill, right, to be given H1 visa, okay, and part of the process is you try to procure that particular resource from the local market. If you could not, then you go. That was a part of the whole process. Anyhow, so I don't think there's anything wrong getting professional people on H1 status and all that stuff, you know what I mean? And you has a, there's a legal process to get, you can get nurses into the US. Definitely you can, you know. My mother-in-law and some of my wife's cousin, I mean, they recently
No,
actually came.
that's what you're basically stating. But is that something which is going to be acceptable to the people who voted Trump in? An average person, whatever background that person might be, is still looking at that person as an immigrant who's been taking their jobs over. The recent example is just weeks ago what occurred in the United States, and how Musk ended up on the wrong side of that whole debate. And there was huge amounts of racism versus Indian people in particular. And the Indian people they were referring to were professionals. And this Trump administration, who's just taken power, there are members of this Trump administration who went outrightly, and they were outrightly racist. Twitter was full of that. There were people all over the UK also like promoting that. They were talking about doctors, nurses, engineers, accountants, people who are required by these countries rather than the other way around. Do you think that they have lesser options, or they even need to move?
I'm totally lost what you're talking about in regards to Elon.
Have
That
you been
became
following the
controversial.
news in the last couple of weeks?
In regards to UK?
No, in regards to the US and the racism between the Indian people, by
Okay,
the coming at the whole H1 fiasco, which Andolan you also referred to.
by
Andolan, you
who?
can
Who
put him
said
in.
that?
I think you would explain it better to him than I
Who
can.
said that?
Yeah, he's
So there
going.
was a huge campaign, on social media, which triggered into a racist, misadventure into against the H1, visa policy is tilted towards India and so on and so forth on those lines. But having said so, very honestly speaking, the H1B debate is over. I mean, it doesn't have much relevance. Most of the H1B jobs, 80% of them are easily digitizable and outsourceable. If there is a huge backlash against H1, the entire departments would move out of US. Take it from me. It's a good debate. While most of the Indians and Americans are fighting over it, I sat out of it because it has no relevance. Hate is a human emotion. It's present across the globe in all people, and it's an expression of hate. And but there's nothing more, nothing less to it. Having said so, Shazi, what I see moving forward is not so much of these professional jobs. Today, we as Indians are sitting in a very sweet spot. And to give you an example, because of the Israel-Palestine conflict, close to 125,000 odd workers, and I'm not talking about engineers, I'm not talking about doctors and lawyers or something like that. I'm talking about average housemaid, nursing staff, cleaners, dryers, carpenters. Because of this conflict, most of the Palestinians who used to come to work in Israel, were not allowed anymore. And Israel picked up close to 125,000 workers from India at a decent salary. So this, what I see this, this entire conflict is, wherever it is happening across the globe. One thing is, Indians abroad have created a very decent image, very less, proportion in crime, pretty well adjusted into various societies across the globe, and we are, going to reap benefit of it. And this is a bit superficial debate what happens on social media.
No,
I
I understand that, but it's the same group of people across. If there's a unity, like you mentioned, between certain liberal classes and we should say the global woke, there's also communication between the far right groups, and that's fast emerging, especially as far as the Western ones are to go by. And if you see, that sentiment was very high only 2 weeks ago. That sentiment was there.
I
That why?
agree. I completely agree with you, Saji, on that. So, on a political standing, the right conservative or the nationalist would not see eye to eye on many issues where the left liberals would have comfort discussing it across the globe. But having said so, the economic realities of the globe are such. If we keep the rhetoric aside,
Mm.
there's no way people can now in this digital world take anybody else's job if they deserved it, and if the companies decide to cost cut or to hire good people from across the globe, irrespective of the policy of the company, the digitization allows them to do so.
So do you think that that is something, because Trump is also now like surrounded by the tech brothers, as many people would like to refer to them as, is considering tariffs? Because
No, I would, if you honestly ask me, Shajay, I would love to see Trump cutting down on H-1B visas.
so if he was to do that, yeah. So say that is the direction where it goes, which I doubt severely. But if that is where the situation goes, and like you said, and it's pretty logical that many jobs are soon, especially after the AI gets even better, are people will not need to travel to other countries to fulfill or take care of many of these jobs. You're absolutely correct in regards to that. So is that why tariffs might come into place, where like hiring somebody in India who is not even present within the United States or Europe or the UK for that matter is going to be taxed to a
The question,
level
Shajay,
where
is how much would you tax? Even if that's the arbitrage, you understand? I come from this industry. I've worked with companies like Accenture's, IBM's of the world, right?
Mhm.
And the arbitrage is such that either you would tax it 300%,
Mm.
right? From a quality of work
Sorry.
perspective, it is
Our question. Text who? The people who are working remotely in India or other part of the world?
no, the companies which hire from India. What Shajay is suggesting, there's some kind of countervailing service tax that if you hire from India instead of US, you would have to pay the government certain amount of tax. You know, India or any other part of the globe. So that's what Shadi is referring to, to de-incentivize American companies to hire from, overseas or to move processes overseas. See, it's technically, Shadi, in a competitive world, it's simply not possible. You can do few checks and balances, but the economics would override it. Currently, the cost arbitrage is such that in India, despite of the salaries in India are now fairly high, there is at least a 3x cost arbitrage.
Mm. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can't see here in Dolanji. So you
He finished
understand?
speaking.
He's muted for some reason.
No,
No,
I just concluded. I said
he finished.
it's technically
He
not
finishes.
possible.
He finishes thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like I understand you might say it's an arbitrage, but do you think that that's going to be condoned, or it's not going to be? At least they're not going to try and tackle that issue. It's
In
not
the
going to
last 20
benefit
years, I've seen,
America.
last 20 years, I've seen, it going multifold. So
Mm,
today we have got close to what millions of people in India who are, performing jobs. The entire finance departments of Fortune 500 companies are now operating out of India, right? Only
and
the CFOs, yeah.
no, I completely agree. That's what's happened. And in terms of manufacturing, China has done a lot in that way as well. But do you think that service industry is also going to be curtailed, because that's affecting the Western countries and their economies, isn't it? There's no doubt about that. It's
So
definitely affecting them.
somewhere one you have to find the balance. If you want to sell goods to developing countries, you want to be competitive. At the
Mm,
same time, you can't be paying 5x the salaries and manufacturing cost in a developed nation to supply
mm,
goods to a developing nation. So somewhere
mm,
the economies won't hold true, with restriction. It
mm.
doesn't make sense. And even if you try to put in artificial barriers around it, it would fail. It has failed. I mean, there were always barriers, right? There are visa restrictions, there are immigration restrictions, and yet you have got half a million or probably close to 5 million people who are in it, sitting in India, doing jobs what Americans or Europeans were supposed to be doing.
But then there's a counter argument to this as well. Like, for example, when free market economy was promoted, and it has been till quite recently by the Americans and the Europeans as well as the British. But the fact of the matter is that when China came out into the open market post communism, they tried to buy all these oil rigs in Texas and various parts of United States, and they were outrightly refused. They were outrightly refused.
That would be the case even going forward, Shaji. So
Yeah.
nobody would compromise and sell the.
So the thing
Yeah.
is, what the point I'm trying to make is, and we've just seen a recent ongoing conversation about TikTok, whether the ban lasts or not is a question to be answered. But then we've got examples like Huawei and what happened to them and how that entire company was taken out. When we talk about media, the entire Western countries banned RT overnight when they considered that the Russians are definitely on the opposing side now after the Ukraine fiasco. But if who is to say that service industry is not going to be targeted in exactly the same way? And
It
that's
would
what
be.
pointed
It would
out.
be. It could be. It would be. It could be. But these are two different things. One, you're talking about protecting the sovereign interest, where you are ready to pay any every cost. Second is the interest of businesses, where the government is not the deciding factor, but the CEO and the board of the business is the deciding factors. They move their headquarters out of US, like Accenture did, if there is too much restriction. But in all this between, let me also give you a very interesting fact. Last quarter, which is September to December, 2024, India exported more oil than Saudi Arabia.
Shaji,
Yeah,
I have to be
I
Shaji.
came across that, and that is.
I have to be at some place at 3:30. I have to get ready.
Okay, no worries. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you
Nice
too,
to
brother.
hear from
Nice to see you too.
Definitely.
Hey, you guys
Thanks a
have
lot.
a good time, okay?
No
Pleasure.
worries.
Okay, pleasure.
So Andolanji, you're absolutely correct in that. I came across that. So they were basically purchasing oil from
Purchasing oil from Russia, refining it in India, and selling it to Europe and US.
exactly. So that's absolutely correct. And similar things have happened for decades in Pakistan as well, where Pakistan has I don't know where that money has gone, but apparently Pakistan has been selling Iranian oil for decades now. but you get my point. Pakistan is another story altogether. You can never understand them. But anyhow, I think it was a pleasure having this conversation. We should end it. And what days are you available? We're going to be doing other shows as well. We've got some interesting subjects in the coming weeks. The grooming gangs, and we're kind of very much following that story at this moment in time. We've got India, Bangladesh planned, and we've got
We have a
other.
fixed schedule, Sajay, but like today, if you can just drop in a message, if available. And this is a good time, right? When you start at somewhere around
Okay.
11:30 India time and close by 1:30 India time. That's more comfortable compared to the way you used to do earlier, which ran till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So
Definitely.
whenever available, drop me a note. I'll definitely join in.
Definitely. Okay, Heather, you did not speak much, but I think it was nice having you here. Maham, can you go for a close?
Yeah, thank you for listening in, everyone. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell button to get regular updates. We'll be back with some new topic. Till then, have a good day, good evening.